If you walked this morning, good. That took discipline, and I respect it. But I need to tell you something that most fitness content for seniors never will. After 60, walking alone is not enough. And if it's the only thing you're doing to stay healthy, there are 4 critical dimensions of aging that are quietly slipping away from you right now, no matter how many steps you log. This video is about what those dimensions are, why walking doesn't touch them, and what 5 activities you can realistically add to your routine to protect your independence, your mind, and your quality of life for the years ahead. I know how that might sound. Maybe you've been told your whole life that walking is the best exercise you can do. Maybe your doctor told you that. Maybe you've heard it so many times it feels like settled science, and walking is genuinely beneficial. I want to be clear about that. But beneficial for what, exactly? That's the question nobody asks. Because once you understand precisely what walking does and does not do inside your body after 60, everything changes. The picture becomes more complete. And you realize there's a lot more you can do, none of it complicated, none of it expensive, that walking simply isn't covering. Here's something I want you to sit with as we go through this video. There is one specific thing that happens in your body every single decade after 60 that no amount of walking will reverse. Something that affects not just your muscles but your brain, your balance, your breathing, and your ability to handle stress. We're going to come back to that, but keep it in mind, because by the time we get there, it's going to reframe the way you think about every physical choice you make. I've gone deep into the exercise physiology and gerontology literature for this one, reviewing research on neuromuscular aging, respiratory decline, proprioceptive loss, cognitive reserve, and stress biology specifically in adults over 60, so that everything I'm about to share with you is grounded in how your body actually works at this stage of life. Not in generic fitness advice designed for 35-year-olds, for you specifically. Before we dive in, if you're finding this useful, take 2 seconds right now, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video, and give this a thumbs up. It genuinely helps more people like you find this content. And drop a comment below, tell me what country you're watching from. I'd love to know where our community is tuning in from, around the world. Hold on a second. Before we go any further, I've put something together for you. It's called the Glucose Paradox. It's a free guide on blood sugar and diabetes, and you can grab it for free through the link in the description. I'm telling you this now because I want you to finish this video with a concrete tool in your hands. To get it right away, just click the link in the description, head over to my site, and drop your email. You'll receive the guide in your inbox a few minutes later. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. Let's get back to the video. Let's start by being precise about what walking actually does, because the conversation has to begin there. When you walk, you are primarily training your cardiovascular system. Your heart rate elevates, your lungs work harder, your circulatory system delivers oxygenated blood more efficiently. And over time, your resting heart rate tends to decrease, and your cardiovascular endurance improves. Those are real benefits, and they are not trivial. Cardiovascular disease is still the leading cause of mortality in adults over 60, and a regular walking habit meaningfully reduces that risk. But your body is not just a cardiovascular system. It is a neuromuscular system, a respiratory system, a proprioceptive system, a cognitive system, an endocrine and stress regulation system. And each of these systems has its own aging trajectory, its own rate of decline, its own specific vulnerabilities, and its own specific set of inputs that can slow or even reverse that decline. Walking addresses one of them with reasonable effectiveness. The other 4 it barely touches. And here is where the real conversation begins. The first thing you need to add is deep breathing practice. And I want to spend real time here, because this is the most underestimated tool in the entire longevity toolkit for seniors. And almost nobody talks about it. Here is what is happening in your lungs right now. As a fact of biology, after the age of 60, the elastin fibers in your lung tissue progressively stiffen. The diaphragm, the dome-shaped muscle below your rib cage, that is responsible for roughly 70% of all breathing effort, begins to lose contractile strength. The result is a measurable reduction in what physiologists call vital capacity. the total volume of air you can move in and out of your lungs with a full breath. By the time you reach your mid-70s, if you've done nothing to counteract this process, you may be operating at 60 to 70% of the lung capacity you had at 40. What does that mean in practical terms? It means less oxygen delivered to your brain with each breath, and your brain, which consumes roughly 20% of your body's total oxygen supply, despite representing only 2% of your body weight, is exquisitely sensitive to even modest reductions in oxygen availability. Reduced cerebral oxygenation is associated with slower processing speed, reduced working memory capacity, increased brain fog, and in the longer term, accelerated atrophy in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning, judgment, and executive function. Diaphragmatic breathing practice directly counteracts this. The technique is specific, and the specificity matters. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, feeling your belly expand outward rather than your chest rising. Hold at the top for a count of 4, then exhale slowly through pursed lips for a count of 6. That extended exhale is critical because it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing the stress hormone cortisol and triggering a measurable drop in blood pressure within minutes. 10 repetitions of this cycle, done twice a day, have been shown in clinical settings to improve oxygen saturation, reduce resting heart rate, and measurably strengthen the diaphragm over a 6 to 8 week period. The time investment is under 5 minutes per session. The return is the equivalent of giving your brain a consistent upgrade in fuel delivery every single day. The second activity is balance training, and this one is, without exaggeration, the most important thing I will tell you today from a pure survival and independence standpoint. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related death in adults over 65 in the United States. More than 36,000 Americans die each year as a direct result of fall-related injuries. And for every person who dies, roughly 30 more sustain serious injuries, hip fractures, traumatic brain injuries, spinal compression, that permanently alter their independence and quality of life. This is not a remote or theoretical risk. It is the single most statistically likely physical catastrophe you will face in the second half of your life. And here is the devastating irony. Walking does almost nothing to reduce it. Balance is not a function of cardiovascular fitness. It is a function of something called proprioception, your nervous system's ability to continuously sense where your body is positioned in space, to detect micro-perturbations in your center of gravity, and to make rapid, subconscious adjustments to prevent you from falling. This system relies on sensory receptors in your joints, your muscles, the soles of your feet, and your inner ear, and all of these receptors decline in sensitivity with age. Walking on a flat surface at a comfortable pace does not challenge this system meaningfully. It does not force it to adapt. It does not rebuild the neural pathways that proprioception depends on. What does challenge it is specific balance training. Standing on one leg, beginning with your eyes open and your hand lightly touching a wall or chair back for safety, then progressing over weeks to standing unsupported, then eyes closed, directly forces your proprioceptive system to engage, adapt, and strengthen. Tandem walking, placing one foot directly in front of the other, heel touching toe, as if walking a tightrope along a line on the floor, challenges your lateral stability in ways that normal walking never does. These exercises are not dramatic. They are not strenuous, but done consistently, for 5 to 10 minutes daily, they rebuild the neural circuitry that keeps you upright when you slip on a wet floor, step off an unexpected curb, or reach for something off balance. That rebuilt circuitry is worth more to your long-term independence than any amount of cardiovascular fitness. The third activity is resistance training, and I want to address the most common misconception about this immediately, because it stops many seniors from even trying. Resistance training is not about becoming a bodybuilder. It is not about lifting heavy weights in a gym. It is about applying a load to your muscles that is slightly greater than what daily life demands, so that your body maintains the muscular architecture it needs to function independently. Here is the biological reality. After the age of 60, you lose between 1 and 2% of your muscle mass per year through a process called sarcopenia, unless you give your muscles a reason to maintain themselves. Walking does not provide that reason. Your muscles don't grow in response to walking because walking doesn't challenge them near their capacity. They adapt to walking by becoming more efficient at walking, and that's it. Resistance training with elastic bands, body weight, or light free weights applies a genuine stimulus. A wall push-up, standing an arm's length from a wall, placing your palms flat against it at shoulder height, and slowly lowering your chest toward the wall before pressing back, works your chest, shoulders, and triceps with zero equipment and zero floor work required. A seated leg extension, sitting in a sturdy chair and slowly straightening one leg until it's parallel to the floor, holding for 2 seconds, then slowly lowering, maintains the quadricep strength that powers every single time you rise from a chair, climb a step, or lower yourself onto a toilet. A resistance band squat, standing with feet hip-width apart, sitting back and down as if reaching for a chair behind you, then pressing through your heels to stand, is the most functional exercise a senior can possibly do, because the squatting pattern is embedded in virtually every activity of daily living. 3 sessions per week, with 1 rest day between each, is all that is required. Not every day, not for hours. 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes, focused on the large muscle groups of the legs, back, and core. The research on this is unambiguous. Seniors who maintain a resistance training practice preserve significantly more muscle mass, maintain better functional capacity, have lower rates of metabolic disease, and report substantially higher quality of life than those who do not, regardless of how much cardiovascular exercise they do. The 4th activity is cognitive exercise, and here I want to be more specific than the usual advice, because not all brain activities are created equal, and the distinction matters. The brain has a property called neuroplasticity, the ability to form new synaptic connections, reorganize existing neural networks, and compensate for areas of decline by recruiting alternate pathways. This property does not disappear with age, but it does require a specific kind of stimulus to activate novelty and challenge. Activities that are familiar and easy do not trigger neuroplasticity. Your brain has to work at the edge of its current capacity, encounter problems it hasn't solved before, and build new pathways to find solutions. This is why doing the same crossword puzzle format every day has limited benefit after the initial learning period. Your brain solves crosswords the same way each time, the same neural circuits, the same retrieval strategy, the same cognitive load. What produces genuine neuroplastic benefit is variation and progressive difficulty. Learning a new language at any age is one of the most powerful cognitive interventions known to neuroscience. It engages working memory, long-term memory, pattern recognition, and auditory processing simultaneously. Playing a musical instrument, even at a beginner level, requires the simultaneous coordination of motor planning, auditory feedback, reading, and rhythmic processing, a neurological workout of extraordinary breadth. Mental arithmetic, doing calculations in your head without a calculator, is deceptively challenging for most people and engages numerical reasoning circuits that, when regularly used, have been associated with reduced risk of cognitive decline. Reading aloud, particularly from unfamiliar material, engages articulation, comprehension, and attention in ways that silent reading does not. The key principle is this: choose something that is slightly too hard for you right now, and do it regularly enough that you slowly become better at it. That process of progressive mastery is the neurological definition of brain fitness after 60. The 5th activity is mindfulness and meditation, and I want to address this directly because I know that some of you may be skeptical. This is not about spirituality or philosophy. This is about cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, produced by your adrenal glands in response to perceived threat or pressure. In acute, short-term situations, cortisol is useful. It mobilizes energy, sharpens focus, and prepares you to respond. But chronically elevated cortisol, the kind that comes from sustained psychological stress, chronic pain, social isolation, health anxiety, or the quiet background worry that many seniors carry, is one of the most destructive forces in the aging body. Chronically high cortisol degrades the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, accelerating cognitive decline. It suppresses immune function, increasing susceptibility to infection. It raises blood pressure, damages the lining of blood vessels, and increases cardiovascular risk. It disrupts sleep architecture, reducing the amount of deep, restorative slow-wave sleep you get each night. And it accelerates telomere shortening, the progressive erosion of the protective caps on your DNA, that is one of the most direct biological markers of cellular aging. Chronic stress, in the most literal molecular sense, makes you age faster. 20 minutes of daily meditation, whether that is focused breathing, a body scan practice, guided visualization, or simply sitting quietly with your eyes closed and gently returning your attention to your breath each time your mind wanders, consistently and measurably reduces cortisol levels. The research on this spans decades and includes randomized controlled trials in adults well into their 70s and 80s. Participants who meditated regularly showed improved sleep quality, lower inflammatory markers, better emotional regulation, and in several studies, measurably slower cognitive decline compared to matched controls who did not meditate. The 20 minutes does not have to be perfect or completely still. It simply has to be consistent. Now let's come back to that question I opened with. The one thing that happens in your body every decade after 60 that no amount of walking will reverse. The answer is this: the simultaneous, multi-system decline that gerontologists call the aging cascade, where decline in one system accelerates decline in others. Weak muscles make balance harder. Poor balance increases fall risk and reduces activity. Reduced activity diminishes cardiovascular and cognitive fitness. Poor cognitive fitness increases stress and anxiety. Chronic stress raises cortisol. Cortisol degrades sleep. Poor sleep weakens immunity and muscle recovery. And the cascade continues, each system pulling the others downward. Walking interrupts one link in that chain. The 5 activities in this video interrupt all of them simultaneously and specifically. Deep breathing protects your brain's oxygen supply and calms your stress response. Balance training protects your proprioceptive system and your independence. Resistance training preserves the muscular architecture that everything else depends on. Cognitive exercise maintains the neuroplasticity that keeps your mind sharp and adaptable. Mindfulness breaks the cortisol cascade at its source. Together, they don't just slow aging, they address it comprehensively. And here is the most important thing I want you to hear as we close. You do not have to start all 5 tomorrow. That is not how lasting change works. And trying to overhaul everything at once is the most reliable way to end up doing none of it within 2 weeks. Instead, choose one, just one, the one that spoke to you most, or the one that feels most manageable right now. Make it a habit for 2 weeks. Do it at the same time each day if possible, because time-anchored habits are dramatically more likely to stick than ones that require a new decision each day. After 2 weeks, when that first activity feels like a normal part of your routine, add a second one, then a third. Over time, and the total time investment across all 5 is roughly 75 minutes per day, you will have built a complete multi-dimensional practice that addresses every major vector of aging that your body faces after 60. That is not a small thing. That is the difference between aging as something that happens to you and aging as something you actively shape. You have more agency here than most people realize. And it starts with understanding, clearly and precisely, what your body actually needs. And hey, if you made it all the way here, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button to let me know this was worth your time. And leave a comment below. Tell me what country you're watching from. Seriously, I read every single one, and it means a lot to see how far this community reaches. You know what the problem is with diabetes and high blood sugar? Most people find out way too late, and by the time they do, they have no idea where to even start. That's why I decided to create a free guide. It's called the Glucose Paradox, and inside, you'll find everything you wish you'd known sooner. I'll explain how blood sugar actually works, and why your body sometimes reacts the exact opposite way you'd expect. That's why it's called a paradox. I've also included concrete habits you can start changing right now, even if you know zero about nutrition or medicine. It's free. You can download it in a second, and it might be the single most useful thing you do for your health today. Just click the link in the description to head to the site, drop your email and get the guide sent straight to you. Don't put this off.